Hey guys, thanks for joining me today. I'm Mark, this is Spiguyver Backpacking, and today I'm out here to show you guys something new that has been really about a 5-month process to get it where I think we're both happy with it. But this was a combined effort between Dutch from Dutchware Gear and myself. I had an idea, got with him, and we started playing with the idea. I think this is prototype number 3, and I think it's finally just about where it needs to be. And so I wanted to show you guys what we've been working on. So let's go. Okay, so what is this thing that I want to show you today? Well, it is a combination. So I've got in here a Hexon 1.0 netless hammock. Because it's netless, I wanted something to go over the outside. What was the whole design purpose of this? Well, I wanted to come up with the lightest package, the lightest overall package that I could get away with and still be pretty safe when it comes to weather protection. So the lightest tarp out there, the lightest tarp I've been able to find is the Dutchware Gear ASIM Dyneema tarp. Weighs in at 3.27 ounces. Put a little bit of suspension on there, you're still under 4 ounces for a very lightweight tarp. Now, it is a minimal coverage tarp. I've shown it in a couple other videos, and we'll get it set up here so you guys can see what it looks like with this in just a little bit. But before we get into that, you have to know that that was the purpose. Having that as the coverage in some areas. You know, there are a lot of areas out there that storms just aren't that prevalent. You may get a storm once in a while, but you may get passing just rain showers, and that's fine. Here in Oklahoma, you're dealing with wind and you're dealing with thunderstorms a lot of them, some of them pretty severe. And so when they kick up, you don't know whether or not it's going to be a light rain coming down, and you really don't know whether or not that trip that you set out on with a clear forecast for 5 days is going to stay clear the entire time. Pop-up thunderstorms are kind of the norm. They happen all the time. They happened this morning. There was nothing forecast for this morning, but they happened this morning. So what you've got to do is figure out a way to be covered. And so what I wanted to do was go with as light a package as I possibly can. Now, I could go with my hammock gear, Cuban fiber or Dyneema tarp with doors. That it's bomb-proof. You close the doors up, it's got great coverage. With suspension, it's still like 9 to 10 ounces, so it's super lightweight and provides great coverage. But when you're looking to go super, super light, and you're in an area where you may not need that much coverage, and you really don't think it's going to rain, going with something a little bit lighter makes a lot of sense. And so that Dyneema ASIM tarp will work. But for a little bit more peace of mind, I wanted to come up with something that covered me a little bit more. And so that's where we started. So we started with the sock design. So this essentially is a sock. It has the one end that can open. I can slide it all the way up and have just an open netless hammock, just like I had to start with. It's a netless 1.0 Hexon hammock. So you can slide it all the way off. But what we did with this was we wanted to pull together the right fabrics to be able to really protect you when it rains, keep the wind off of you, and with that minimal coverage tarp, if rain is being pushed in, you're still being kept safe. Your underquilt's not getting wet, and it's not coming in on the ends where there's very minimal coverage. So what we did, all right, on the ends there are these panels. So this panel down here is a sill poly. Same here, sill poly. Down here is an argon, which is water resistant but not waterproof. So splashback or rain coming in isn't gonna hit your underquilt, it's gonna hit this, and you should stay protected with your underquilt. Additionally, this is gonna block the wind. So if you're out there and you only have a 30-degree quilt, 30-degree underquilt, and you suspect that it's going to get down to around 30 degrees, a lot of times that comfort zone 30 degrees with a 30-degree quilt, depending on the brand, is going to be pushing it a little bit. With this, that extra little bit of fabric here is going to act as a barrier. So it's going to block the wind to keep it from robbing any heat, and it's going to keep a little bit more heat in. Additionally, the two ends being covered with a little bit more or a little bit less of the bug net is actually going to trap in a little bit more warmth, a little bit more heat. The fact that if you're using the ASIM tarp, it's going to be pitched low and tight to the hammock, is also going to trap in a little bit more warmth. And so you may be able to get away with, where it would be a little bit dicey with other quilts, you're going to be able to get away with it using a system like this. Let's take a little bit closer look. Okay, so on this end, which is the foot end, it is tapered up to the point. It does have a little cinch lock there, and you have a little mitten hook to keep it in place. But this entire panel right here is made of a sil poly, and so it is waterproof. So because the tarp's only going to cover about to here, that being of a waterproof material is going to be a big advantage. Now if you come down, for the entire bug net area, we went with a lightweight zipper that runs this entire length. And what that does is it allows you to get in and out without having to worry about pulling it down like a normal sock. So a normal sock, you would have to undo this cinch cord up here, pull it down, get in and out. But with this design, we have a zipper, so you don't have to do that. Once you deploy this sock, you can get in and out just like you would a zippered hammock. So let's take a look at how getting in and out of this would work. Like I said, it's got a zipper that runs this entire bug net. So we can go ahead and unzip the whole thing. Now you've got access to your hammock. So getting in and out of the hammock is just like any other hammock. You're just gonna open it up, sit down on it, and now you're in your hammock. So now you can kick off your shoes, get in. So this is the head end for me, and this is the foot end. Now the foot end has a little bit longer coverage than the head end, so that the air can escape and travel through a little bit better. Now you can pull this over and have bug net coverage just like this and just sit here, or you can get completely into your hammock. Let me start zipping this so that it's easier to get to. And now you're zipping it just like you would any zippered bug net on a hammock. So what I will do is actually adjust this so that it is up around my shoulder and up over my foot end like that, so that if there's any wind or rain being blown, I am protected. Now as I spread out a little bit, you can see it has a little bit of looseness. Well, that looseness is there so that it doesn't compress your underquilt. So your underquilt will be underneath you, and there needs to be a little bit of room there for that so that you aren't compressing it, which would then lose the effectiveness of the down or whatever insulation you have in your underquilt. You want that there, and you want it to be able to protect you in that way. Now you can twist this a little bit to make it cover exactly where you want. So right there is exactly where I would want it if I'm laying in here and trying to stay out of the elements. Of course, you know, it's a normal hammock, so it's going to be just as comfortable as any other hammock you lay in. So like I mentioned, the reason I went with this is because of that minimalist tarp. So let's get that tarp up and take a look at it with that on. Okay, so here's what it will look like when it is deployed. Now, there will be some adjustment made to make it fit a little bit nicer, but this is just kind of the initial setup. So I've got my pullouts coming down to my stakes, pulled nice and taut. I've got a continuous ridge line on there with some loop aliens just to make it easy. But you can see this is a very minimal coverage tarp. And you can see there's pieces, there's a little bit blowing out on that side. Now that's the problem with wind, is you're not sure exactly how it's going to affect how everything hangs and how everything sits in here. But I will say, once you get in, it's not going to be as dramatic as the wind blowing in through here, catching that and pushing it out. Now, if you're not in it, this may happen where it's blowing out, but because we've got the waterproof ends, that should be not quite so bad. So let's go ahead and get in it and take a look at how being in it changes the way it lays. Okay, so now that I'm in here and I'm laying in it on the diagonal, my feet are on the side where it comes out, my head is on the side where it comes out, and so it follows really the natural lay of this tarp, covers it, but it is pretty close in all those areas. Now you can see, now that I'm laying in here, it's not billowing out, it's not blowing out to the sides because I'm taking up that slack that was there. Additionally, I've got the coverage from the different pieces, the sill on the ends where it's probably the most exposed, and then for that stuff blowing in, I've got that underquilt protected by that argon that's underneath. So this, to me, is a great solution to really give me that peace of mind and keep me a little bit drier, a little bit safer in the event something strange comes up that I'm not expecting. Now, if I know it's going to be a stormy trip, I'm not taking this tarp. I'm taking something with a little bit more coverage. Okay, so this is my view from inside, the way that it works. So I've got that argon right here. So it's pulled up all the way to the side, right to my shoulder. So it's going to cover my underquilt as my underquilt's in there. The bug net is a little bit loose, but it's going to be a little bit tighter once you have your underquilt down there taking up a little bit more room. You can see up at the head end, that sill is going to protect you. And then even more so, down at the foot end, it's going to protect you. You can see where the coverage of the tarp is. So it's outside, but it is giving you a little bit more coverage there. So you're covered there, and it extends out this way on the head side. So it is a little bit further out. And so I am protected from straight down, any rain that's coming straight down. Now it's where the wind comes in. Now you can pitch the sides a little bit lower to protect it a little bit more. Pitch it a little bit lower to the ridge line to also protect it. But I really like this because I can lay in here and I can look out and I can see the world and I can see what's going on out both sides. You know, if I just pull this down, I can look out here and see what's going on in the world. A lot of tarps and a lot of different setups really block that from you. So I'm sure one of the questions one of you guys is gonna have out there, maybe several of you, but at least one of you's gotta have the question, what does a setup like this weigh? All in. We're talking about all the suspension stuff, continuous ridge line, suspension for the hammock, and it may be this one, it may not be this one. The hammock, the sock, all of it combined, what does it weigh? Well, let's take a look. Hey, I appreciate you guys coming out, checking this out, seeing what we've got going. I want to thank Dutch for working with me, coming up with something that I think is going to work. I was looking for solutions that weren't already out there. I was looking for a way to use something very minimal, but yet still have that peace of mind and that protection for when a freak storm comes up. I don't want to be out in the backcountry and be depending on something that's not going to work, and so that's why we've come up with this. It still needs some testing, absolutely needs some testing, and I'm going to get it out, I'm going to put it through the test, and I'm going to let you guys know how it performs. This was just the first look. This was just that initial first look, showing you guys what we've come up with, what options may be out there, and something to look at. Super lightweight, total package, lighter than pretty much anything else out there that you can get. Now you could go with a little bit less protection and not use a sock and go a little bit lighter, but for the amount of protection that this provides, that little tiny bit of weight increase there, I think is completely worth it. Just knowing that you're gonna keep your underquilt and yourself a little bit more protected from any driving rains, any windy rains. All right, guys, we're gonna test this thing out. We're gonna put it through the ringer. I will let you guys know exactly how it performs. If it sucks, you're gonna know it sucks. If it's great, you're gonna know it's great. But I really do appreciate industry cottage vendors out there being able to help me out, to work with me and come up with things that I'm looking for solutions to. So let's get this thing going, let's get it tested, and let's see how this thing works out. What do you guys think? All right, I'll see you guys down the trail.